would you have received that kind of correspondence, or did you become aware of that kind of concern about him?
I saw that correspondence first time on television, so I never received it, and I'm sure if any section, especially the HR environment of the SAPS, if they did receive such, they would have brought to my attention. But what I'm aware of is that there was a labor appeals court case judgment that came out in May 2022. The sitting was somewhere in March before my appointment. The judgment which held that his dismissal by the then national head of DPCI was unfair, and the dismissal was overturned. So, which then paved the way that General Sibiya should be reinstated into the SAPS, and he was reinstated in July 2022 and placed at the post of head of organized crime in the detective services.
When you say you saw it on TV, that letter, was it after he had been appointed to the position or before?
Now, in TV, I mean now recently, after General Mkonazi was at the commission.
Okay.
That's when I saw it for the first time.
Now, as National Commissioner, when an appointment such as this, which is a direct report to you, is to be made, the position is advertised, the candidate is interviewed, and is whatever processes you follow, is that a matter that you become involved in, the selection of is it a divisional, deputy national commissioner, sorry? Do you become involved in that selection process?
That's correct, yes, I become involved. But the selection for deputy national commissioners is not as you described. The positions normally don't get advertised. There is a section in the Police Act which make provision for appointment without advertisement, and it is that section that is being used. So he was appointed in terms of that section, and the minister has to concur also on such an appointment.
Yes. So my emphasis and area of interest really is your involvement in that process that culminates in him being appointed to the position. Ordinarily, if such a letter had been sent, if indeed that letter was sent from the city of Johannesburg, you should ordinarily have become aware of it. Is that a fair proposition?
Yeah, no, it is correct.
And in this case, you never became aware of it?
No, I never became aware of, but I became aware that there was an inquiry and a case opened at the city of Johannesburg. One case was about purchasing of some equipment or arrest by equipment. The one case was for about his appointment.
Yes.
And on those cases were investigated by the DPCI. They conducted a thorough investigation and concluded that on the one for spying equipment, it was concluded that General Sibiya did not contravene the National Strategic Intelligence Act. However, the case docket was still referred to the National Prosecuting Authority, which the National Prosecuting Authority did give feedback that there is no, they did not prosecute Sibiya in this case. In one case, the one that he was appointed to City of Johannesburg, they say he's not a suspect, he didn't appoint himself. On the other one, there were even letters from state security that did allude, somewhere in early June, July, alluded that the equipment is not intelligence gathering, and eventually the DPP declined to prosecute in that those cases.
All right. Let me explain my interest, General. My interest is whether you as National Commissioner and your subordinate or immediate report is being appointed, the nature of your involvement in that process, whether you became aware at that point of the allegations against him, and if you did become aware of them, did you do anything about it? How come he was still appointed if you did become aware of these allegations at that point? What is your short and crisp answer? You were aware when he was selected, or you were not aware?
I was aware of these matters that I'm talking about. I became aware. One was an inquiry, one was a case, but I wasn't aware of that specific letter.
You were not aware of the allegations about the city of Johannesburg?
The letter that you spoke about, I don't know exactly what that letter contained because I don't have it now. But I'm aware of the matter of the procurement of technical surveillance equipment. Yes, I was aware of that.
If I may interrupt you, I think what I'm trying to determine is whether you did not consider that kind of allegation whether you did or did not consider it as a disqualifying concern in appointing him to the position.
At that point, I think the matter that was the issue of the appointment, and we did not consider that as a matter that would disqualify him to be re-enlisted, because we were not actually employing him. We were re-enlisting him back to the position where he was, which it can be any other position. And if there is a matter that has to be dealt with, if it's within the service, we would deal with it. So in this case, we re-enlisted him, and the two matters, as I said, they ended up being declined, both of them.
Perhaps just to also just correct myself a bit. In fact, General Mkhwanazi's evidence was he came in, you call it re-enlisting, into one position, and then within a very short space of time, he was now deputy commissioner, the position that he currently holds. And so maybe my question to you should have been, but when he was made deputy commissioner, the position that he currently holds, these allegations, you would have known about them if you did, and did you consider that it didn't matter? It's not serious concerns, or they are unsubstantiated, so we will appoint him anyway.
Those allegations, they did matter, but by the time he was appointed Deputy National Commissioner, they were already settled by the NPA, both of those matters. And of course, there is other criteria that one look at when you appoint a Deputy National Commissioner.
Mr. Matau, before you go to the conclusion, we will deal with the last sentence of the conclusion, and then you will tell us who we attribute that language to, but we'll deal with that later. For now, let's go to 168 and 169 of the statement. I was just not clear what point is being made there, and maybe you can deal with it with the witness. (168) and 169 of the statement on page 54. It is just not clear to me whether it is being suggested that the minister did anything untoward.
Thanks. I think maybe let's go back. because I had said I'll come back to it, but I thought it got cleared in the course of the evidence. But let's just tidy that up. General, in 168 and 169, you made 2 points. The first point that you make in paragraph 168 is the minister's intervention in questioning the performance of the service provider that had been appointed based on the concerns that had been raised, and that triggered an investigation into that contract with Medicare 24. You dealt with it in paragraph 168, you recall? Do you recall that you dealt with that?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Yes. And then you say in 169, on the conspectus of the facts that have now been revealed, I wonder whether at the time of triggering this investigation, the minister was aware that Brown Mokhotsi and Kat Matlala were associates, and that if he did, would he have triggered it being that investigation? Perhaps just again to tie it back to the evidence that you've now given of the connections and the links that have been established by the investigation, perhaps if you could deal with 168 and 169 as well in that basket of issues.
Yeah, Commissioner, what one is saying here is that the minister, before the 24th of December, he did allude that there is this contract that is for health risk management in the subs, and is briefed or tipped somewhere that there is problems around this specific service provider, and which I also did indicate to him that somewhere in the year before the relevant committees awarded the tender to him, I did get a call from the IDEC to say looks like there is problem around the awarding of this contract, which then at that point one did check whether there is compliance to prescripts, and one found that no, it is compliance. So the minister then in December raised that looks like there is a problem around this specific tender. Then we agreed with him to have a meeting, and that meeting was held on the 24th of December, which we then got a briefing in terms of how this contract is performing, and there were a bit concerns around various issues, amongst them performance or delivery of service around this contract. And I then directed that, together with the minister, that there should be audit of this contract. So then the audit was performed, which culminated in a report that identified a lot of things like I think funding, corruption, and whatever fraud, let me say fraud, which eventually that led to me 13 May then cancelling the contract. So paragraph 169, what it is saying is that now, knowing what we know now, the question is, by the time the minister raised an alarm on this contract, did he know that this specific person was his funder, yes or no? We don't know. But what we know is that at some point during the charts, the communication between Brown Mokhotsi, Matlala, and so on later in December, they do indicate somewhere in those communications that the person that the minister raised an alarm on the contract is actually our funder. So what we are saying on 168 and 169, we're saying that the minister raised an alarm on the 168. On 169, what we're saying is, knowing what we know now, we don't know whether the time he raised alarm, did he know that this person is one of his associates or not? That's the context of these two paragraphs.
Of his associates or an associate of his alleged associate.
Yes, whether he's associates or associates of his alleged associate, whether he was aware, we don't know.
General, I'm still not clear. Was the minister raising alarm about issues of payment or issues of performance or even how the contract came about? It's not clear to me what we are dealing with here. So
But he was raising the alarm on how this contract came about and whether are we sure that this contract was done properly. In short, what I can say there is that's why you see there I wrote Medicare 24 Tshwane district. So during the investigation by the audit, well, I wouldn't know specifically what he got, but he raised about how the contract was ended up with the specific person. So, but during the audit, it was found that at some point the service provider was Medicare, and at some point it was Medicare 24. And these committees, the bid evaluation committee and the bid adjudication committee, somewhere somebody didn't see through that we're not dealing with one company, we're dealing with two, which eventually then it became clearer that actually the Medicare 24 Tshwane district was fronting Medicare, not themselves. So, which was one of the conditions of the contract that they shouldn't front. They should. So it was cancelled based on those grounds. It's not only this one that I'm mentioning, but it was quite a number of various grounds. But yes, when he was raising the alarm was that he thinks the contract was not regularly awarded.
and my last question was, are you suggesting that there's anything untoward with the minister raising alarm about this contract?
No, I'm not saying there's anything untoward. It's good that what he did. But what I was saying is, later when you realize that this person might be an associate of his associate, whatever, when he was raising alarm, did he know that? That's the question I'm raising, which I don't have an answer for.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, General. I think if we can then go to the conclusion. I'm trying to get there quickly while the commissioners are formulating the next question. In 190 and 191, if I can ask you to please deal with your concluding remarks.
Yeah, it is deeply, on paragraph 190, it is deeply unfortunate that these events have occurred as they do not only erode public trust in the integrity of SAP's leadership, but also risk undermining critical investigation into politically motivated crimes. The disregard of established protocol and the apparent willingness to act outside the chain of command jeopardize the transparency and accountability at the heart of effective policing. Moreover, the shadow of alleged criminal associations, even if yet unproven, cast doubt over the credibility of ongoing investigations and the impartiality of officers involved. In the context where the stakes are the pursuit of justice and the safety of communities, such lapses threaten to weaken the foundational principle upon which the police service relies and diminish public confidence in law enforcement as a whole. I've been asked about the key reforms that would assist within the police service. I would, although I intend to make comprehensive submission in this regard at a later stage, I would like to highlight that the police minister's role needs to be urgently defined, especially in light of there being a suspended, there being a minister on leave and the acting minister of police.
Thank you. General, is there anything that you would like to say, if perhaps there is, that you could not put across because you didn't get an appropriate question, perhaps, to deal with it? And if there is none, there isn't as well. I'm just checking whether there is anything that you feel you need to highlight or indicate to the commission.
Maybe just to deal with, I think there was, during General Mukonazi's testimony, there was some question around the Richards Bay deployment. So I just want to...
The what deployment? Or
Richards Bay deployment. I just want to allude to the fact that indeed, yes, there was deployment that he withdrew, and we sent national deployment because there were complaints that there is a problem. There were executives of Richards Bay Minerals or RMB that were killed, and there was a need to investigate those cases, which eventually the team that was sent from national, when they were there, I think one of the suspects was shot either by both teams or the team from the provinces, from the province. And there were quite a number of firearms recovered in that operation. And there was nothing sinister about that, the operation. We always do get calls. Even currently we have operations in Northwest, in the mines where people are mining. In certain areas they mine behind houses. So the pushes there, they do complain and send us what is happening. So we do deploy. In Eastern Cape, there was complaint around taxi violence. We sent a team there. And the very same PKTT that we are talking about today, there was complaint about political matters in KZN. And we do deploy and will continue doing that. Thank you very much.
On this, General, I understood General Mkhwanazi, at least one of the issues being that the deployment, this deployment from National was made without him being brought into the loop or being aware of it. The next thing he knew, there was the Special Task Force, and I think he said the National Intervention Unit, and he didn't know anything about it. How do you, in those cases where from national you deploy into a province because of a specific request, a specific issue, what is the process, your communication process, the provincial commissioner? Or even the district, because I think I heard him mention a district commissioner. And in this case, he seemed to suggest that even the district commissioner was not aware. They called him because there was an issue, and then he said, I don't know anything about this. How does it work in terms of process?
Yeah, normally when we do deploy, there is a call-up that is done by the relevant deputy or what we call National Operational Command Center. They will draft a call-up, it will be signed and sent to whoever must deploy and the province. Well, I think in that deployment we did pick it up very late that the person that for some reason correspondence never reached province, and when you deploy in the province you must report to the provincial commissioner that I'm here, I'm coming here to do 1, 2, 3, because some deployment might be with the knowledge and consent or agreement of the provincial commission. Some might not be with the consent or permission, but it might be sent from head office because of the problem that is foreseen there. An example of that is deployment, I think, that's going to deal with taxi violence in both Eastern Cape and Western Cape. But the provincial commissioner will be informed. He might not want or like the deployment, but if there is such, he will be informed, and whoever is deploying the province must report him or herself to the relevant provincial commissioner.
As I understood it, part of the complaint by General Mkwanazi was that these members that were deployed at the mine over time sort of became the mine's subs unit, because they ended up no longer doing exclusively the work they were deployed for, but rather they would even do theft cases and whatever other types of criminal matters the mine would complain about. Do you want to comment on that? Do you know how that came about?
Well, what I know, Commissioner, is that members deployed, they will deploy and fight crime. If they end up doing some things that they are not supposed to, then the commander who becomes aware of that then needs to raise the alarm and it get addressed. But theft is a crime, is something that police needs to deal with.
But they were sent there for specific types of crimes. It's not as if there were no subs members in the area who would have continued to do subs work. So with regard to those thefts, the subs in the area should have continued to do that type of work. And I would have thought that these members would concentrate only on what they were deployed there for.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Commissioner. But that is more cooperation then and liaison and communication between the deployed team and the local police to say what you do and what I'm doing, what I'm here for.
So basically then, must I understand you to be saying there was no cause for complaint at all if these members deployed for a specific purpose were now suddenly doing every and anything? So there was no cause for concern about that?
Well, if they do any other extra for what they're not being called for, as long as it's crime and they are not fighting or arriving at scene with the locals, there is nothing wrong.
Thank you, General.
General, I would be concerned with that answer if the deployed units are the Special Task Force and the National Intelligence Unit. I wouldn't expect them to be doing common theft matters.
I would agree with you, Commissioner, on that specific one. And in this case, it was not those two units. I will agree with you. NIU and Special Task Force are solely used for medium to high risk operations. So here, as far as I know, it wasn't either of those two units.
All right. I won't dwell on it. I think he said it's those two units. But let me ask you a different, it's not even a question really. You, in that paragraph, in that concluding paragraph, you do say, and you've mentioned it now, that you've been asked about key reforms you think would assist the police service and you intend to make submissions. Can I suggest that when you do that, when you consider that, you have regard to term of reference 5, which is, you also take that into account. It requires us to comment on or to look at the effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms. That's term of reference 5. And then 6, it's the adequacy of current legislation, policies, and institutional arrangements in preventing such infiltrations. Of course, the infiltrations being of criminal cartels or criminal syndicates. If you would just have regard to those as well, more specifically.
I will do so, Commissioner. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mdau.
Chair and members of the Commission, that concludes the evidence on behalf of the National Commissioner.
General, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Sorry, just one housekeeping issue. I know, Commissioner Baloyi, I owe you references to particularize SFM 6 and SFM 3. I do have them, but perhaps just to be tidy, if I can just hand them over so that there is evidence that I did. And that will be attended to and formally handed up. And just to conclude, there is a co-pilot who was also essential in this team and in the preparation of the work that was done. She joined us late because she had been deployed, but did not exceed the scope of her deployment where she was deployed. Her name is Advocate Thabang Bowe. I'd like to give an acknowledgement of her presence and her participation in the matter.
Welcome, Ms. Bowe.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's not 4 o'clock yet. What do we do next?
Chair,
Are we calling the next witness?
Chair, I unfortunately can't accuse you of encroachment when you raise that. But Chair, if we could request that we stand down, also given the lateness of the hour, then we'll prepare the next witness that will be leading. And with your leave, if we could please commence on Thursday at 9:30.
Thank you, Mr. Mtau. Let us adjourn and resume at 9:30 on Thursday. Thank you.
I